Wrecks passed without sound of bells, the calyx of Death's bounty giving back, a scattered chapter, livid hieroglyph, the portent wound in corridors of shells. Heart Crane. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Alas for the Awful Sea, Kingsport 1851, Volume 2, which is a mouthful. I have assembled a very nice cast for these continuing adventures of the ship Calypso as it attempts to have found a whale fishery in the foggy, fishy, witchy little town in New England, smack dab in the middle of Lovecraft country. So I want to introduce them. Why don't we start with Sarah, who is playing Clement Thorne, our captain.
Yes, Sergei, she, her, playing Clement Thorne, he, him. This is his first time being a captain. He is definitely here to hunt whales and not hunt down the not whale that swallowed him and spat him out in London a few years back.
Of course not. There's no ulterior motives anywhere in a Powered by the Apocalypse game. That would be. So while we next go from an oddly a mirror image of experience, but oddly similar in intent. Why don't we introduce Marissa, who's playing Lilith Belvedere, our scholar and believer.
Yes, a potent combination, the two. Hi, I'm Marissa, and I am playing Lilith Belvedere, she, her. She is a scholar at Miskatonic University who studies entities that she calls the fathomless. Ooh, leviathans of the sea's darkest depths. She's also a fiction writer who has begun to write novels based on her research, but which have been derided for sensationalist prose and vague gestures at shadows we cannot see rather than basis in scientific reality. In fact, she has been criticized perhaps by her literary rival, most of all, Lavinia Haw-Bramble. No relation at all to Nathaniel Hawthorne. No, none. But yeah, we last left her where she had to leave one of her trunks on shore. So I'm sure we will find out the effect that has on tonight's session.
We accept all kinds of XPs here, and historical characters who are assassinated by my portrayals of them, probably. So up next, let's go to Dorian, who is playing Angus Melanson, our Strider, and also an outcast.
Yes, I'm Dorian. I use he and him pronouns, as does Angus. He is an experienced hunter on land who finds himself in need of a pressing change of scenery after an accident among a group he was leading leads to him facing a lot of blame and suspicion. He is definitely out of his depth in more ways than one, having signed on to this long sea voyage, and I hope it works out for the guy.
Oh, wow. You've never heard me say this in a session. I'm sure it's going to work out fine. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, it's just going to be a nice breezy year or two, and he'll come out the other end rich and happy and unharmed.
It's an excellent way to make money. Everything will be fine. And speaking of making money, a guy who's now the first mate and quite directly involved in this enterprise. Please let's welcome Justin, who's playing Eamon Whistler Burns, the old sea dog and the kinsman.
Hi, my name's Justin, a he/him player and a he/him character, Eamon Whistler Burns. He's, I think, out of everyone here, probably the most normal, though he acts a little bit more eccentric than others with his bravado and old seaman tales and talking himself up in his whaling career. But he's still a bit haunted by the ship that he was on that sunk only a few years ago, and has many questions about exactly what happened and why.
But of course, those will be unanswered forever and have no bearing on the drama that's about to play off. Hi, I'm Kat. I use she, her, and Kingsport's been my baby for a while. It's my other baby. Willow is here, but she's in the green room, and I don't know if she'll come on camera for a while. So When last we left off, we had figured out who the harpooners of the ship will be, though the assignment will wait a bit. I'd like to say that this is maybe a few days later. Like, there's been a lot of ordinary business of the ship, assembling more crew members. What are people's routines during this period?
So to clarify, the ship hasn't left yet. It's
Oh
just
no, yeah, it's still
preparing for
fitting out.
departure.
Yeah, they're still putting in the rigging and laying in supplies and hiring crew. There's all that kind of hubbub going on.
Ooh, I definitely feel like first mate. I probably spend a lot of time moving in and off the ship, just doing a lot of making sure all the supplies are being loaded in, double checking the inventory, making sure everything is in working order.
Right.
Yeah, just going through all the checks and balances and whatnot. Probably working pretty closely with the captain.
I don't think a whaler normally carried a full-time purser, but the Pendletons would definitely have a clerk of some nature that would go over that stuff with you.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Just curious where you're sleeping.
Oh, I think I'm not sleeping on the boat yet. I probably have a room at the inn where we first met. What was it? The Swordfish?
The salty cod. The salty cod.
The Salty Cod, that's right. So I probably have a temporary room there. The Salty Cod. But knowing Eamon, he's up half an hour before the sun, and he's in bed after sundown, like once everything's just kind of been taken care of, and he's had a few with some of the ship's crew and is ready for a good night's sleep.
Have you moved on the ship yet, Cap?
Oh, absolutely.
Nice. Very good. So probably your days look similar, right?
Yeah, probably pretty much. Just it's a lot of preparation for the trip and making sure we've got everything.
All right, so that leaves us with our two civilians.
The newbies, yeah.
Yeah, Angus and Lilith.
I think Angus has been making an effort to lay low, certainly, because he was attacked not so long ago, and is not a popular guy around about these parts necessarily at present. But that said, he is trying to, sort of make sure his personal supplies and things like that are in good order. His hunting knives, his bow, the stuff that he would bring for any trip out into the wilderness, because he assumes they will be spending at least some time on land at one point or another during this voyage, and it may come in useful. I think he is also attempting to give himself a bit of a crash course in some of the nautical specific stuff he expects he may need to know. He's a diligent kind of guy, so he's trying to do what catch up he can, so that he's not a major drag on the crew's ability to get shit done.
That makes sense. I was thinking that maybe we'll have a scene with Cory and Angus, if that works for you in a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, good. What about Lilith?
Well, Lilith's primary consideration at the end of last session was making sure that her second chunk that she will not be able to take with her summarily returned to her parents' estate, which I think she spent a lot of time and effort and somewhat red-faced and embarrassed having to pick some of her things up off the ground. She accomplished. I think Lilith has kind of been also staying on the ship or spending a lot of time on the ship at the very least. I think she's sort of using this as a period to kind of acclimate to it, but in a way that acknowledges or forgets that she can just walk off the boat and go do something if she wants to. So she's kind of like patting herself on the back for like, oh, I spent a night on a boat, and then goes and gets a pastry from like a corner pastry shop thereafter. So I think like it hasn't maybe really sunk into her what seafaring life will be like, but for right now she thinks it's going to be grand because being on a boat doesn't seem so bad after all. I think she also has visited the university. She wants to kind of collect her things there, leave her research in a fairly, she won't be back for quite a while. So she wants to make sure it's all tidied up. And in the meantime, I think she's pulled some books from the university library, like yield seafaring and, how to do basic boat things. And some of these are just like nautical histories, which are not going to come in handy probably at all, but who knows? Some of them are like actual, here's how you tie a knot with a diagram and like 3 pages of different types of knots type books. I think she's also been trying out bits of dialogue on some of the rest of the crew, like hoist the mizzen sail and seeing what it does or how people react, which probably isn't going very well for her. But she has been enjoying herself probably more than she will be when we actually set sail.
This is fascinating. I like this a great deal. All right. So I think I want to start with Eamon and one other person who might be around the wharves early in the morning one day.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like we have at least 2 candidates for that.
Who are you most interested in seeing, Justin?
Choice. Okay, so yeah, I really want to do this. Okay, I Lilith, give me Lilith, please.
So Lilith is trying to get used to getting up with the dawn, and this works beautifully. Mm-hmm. So how do you show up at the ship at this dark o'clock of the morning?
Oh, am I showing up?
Oh yeah. What do you look like?
Yes, I am coming. I think I'm fully dressed at this point, like as though it was noon, because I can prove that I can reset my daylight clock, of course, because I will have to be up early when I'm on the boat because the sun will dictate when I am awake and when I'm not. So I think I've proven to myself that I could do a full kind of kit outfit, the 2 separate pieces, all matching. She has a big floofy hat. She's carrying her big dusty tome. And she does look like she's walked out of, the high street at midday, and she kind of strides aboard the gangplank purposefully.
So it's an early, misty, chilly morning, and the fog, as it so often does, has rolled in off of the harbor into Kingsport. It's one of those kind of white fogs at this hour of the day where like everything is illuminated but nothing is visible kind of thing. And Eamon, you're the old sea dog. You have sharp nautical eyes. Mm-hmm. You pick out a white form moving along the wharves.
I just take a closer look because I'm not expecting anyone just yet, and the delivery isn't supposed to be there until 7 o'clock.
I mean, it looks like it's a person, but all you're really seeing is like this white robish kind of thing floating in the fog.
It'd be too early in the morning for ghosts and specters. Who's out there?
So they sort of come close enough that you can see that it's a woman with blonde hair that's all disheveled. She's not wearing any shoes, and she's just kind of wearing this long, like, shift, like a night shift almost. She looks up. "Oh, sir, hast thou found Phoebe? I have looked for her."
Phoebe? No, I don't know. I don't know Phoebe, lass, sir.
Phoebe's lost. Phoebe's lost, sir. Phoebe did what she shouldn't ought to have.
I start headed down the gangplank. What do you mean? Is Phoebe your daughter or your sister?
She like clutches you by the lapels. Like, "Oh, sir. Oh, sir. She wanders, sir. I can't find her. I call my name and she comes not."
All right, well, settle down to spell. I'll give you a hand. What Who's she look? Who's she look like? How old is she?
Oh, sir. Is this a Pembleton ship?
Aye, it's a Pembleton ship.
Are you to sail upon it, sir?
I am its first mate.
Then you must know, Phoebe. You must know of me, sir. Yes, you must know.
I'm sorry, I don't. This is my first trip on this ship. Was she a sailor before?
Phoebe is a poor cracked mind, sir. She spoke to those of the air and of the sea and of the land all at once. And now I
Alright.
do not know where my wits are.
All right. Well,
She is quite obviously shivering and, feverish.
yeah. I take off. I'm assuming because he's an old salt, he's got a monkey coat.
Yeah.
I take it off. I put it around her shoulders. Like, all right, well, we'll go and we'll look for your Phoebe for you. But why don't you tell me where you're staying, where your home is? I'll bring you back. We'll get you warmed up, and then I'll have the men look for your Phoebe.
She lives in a little cupboard in a walnut shell, sir.
Oh, all right. Well,
In a roof all covered over with turf. Near and nigh unto the market.
right. It's an apt description. I'll be sure to look. How do I find somebody for this lady?
She looks up and sees Lilith and goes, "Oh, sister, why are you damned as well? Are you here to help Phoebe?"
I beg your pardon. Who are you? She looks at Eamon.
I was Phoebe Greenwood, ma'am. I'm not sure I am now.
Oh, are you to say that you are a specter? Oh, how fascinating. She flips open her book immediately. Literally has a pen, always on her body at some point all the time. And so I think she has like little pockets of fabric where she stitched in pens that she can just kind of slip her hand in and grab. So she literally pulls out her pen and starts documenting.
Miss Belvedere, this woman's got a fever.
Shall I not say it thy fortunate? And she collapses into a faint.
I try to catch her as quickly as I can. Go, quick, get the doctor. Get any doctor.
Doctor? What kind of doctor is awake at this time? You have to wait for
Find one.
Hours.
Miss Belvedere, this woman is sick.
Well, I can't go very quickly. I just arrived.
Take a lantern and go, or stay with the woman.
She did give directions to where to a house.
Yeah. Go up the lane, third left.
Up the lane, third left. Okay, I am sure. Who am I to ask for?
Dr. Clark's. Dr. Clark's lives in the house, the red one.
Dr. Clark. Okay, the red house, third on the left. I got this. Where's the lantern? Is there one nearby to hand?
Just
it's quite dark out there. I do need to be able to find my way both there and back.
Fine. Up on the ship, I have my lantern. You can't miss it. It's the only light.
I think she makes a show, when pedestrians are see a car that they are inconveniencing and they kind of try to hustle a little bit just to show the car that they are trying to move faster. This is precisely what Lilith is doing. She kind of is shuffling a little faster in her heels to show that she appreciates the urgency of the scenario. Grabs the lantern and I think we'll head to the advertised house.
Well, you go and find the doctor, who is quite cross at being interrupted at his tea and toast, but throws on.
As I said he would be.
He throws on his sou'wester and comes down and looks down and is like, Phoebe's got out of her house again, has she?
So who is Phoebe? Who is this child?
She arrogated unto herself the title of healer. Her people were supposed to be witches from Dunwich years ago, but a superstition, of course. Something out of Hawthorne. Or Harbramble, of course.
Of course, everyone makes that
Our dear
comparison.
Belletrist. So he looks at you, Eamon, and he's like, well, come along, man. Help bring her with you.
Yeah,
We'll,
yeah, I
we'll
have
put
her.
her
I
to her
have her.
bed.
She's got a fever, doctor. Do you have anything for her?
We'll put her to bed and see if she needs to be bled.
All right. Do you have anyone to look after her? It's not. She could have fallen off them docks.
I know nothing of her people, nor have I any wish to. I've never heard anything good about Dunwich.
It's not a good way to start a morning.
All right, so it turns out she does have a house with a roof it's a thatched roof with plants growing out of it. But when you get inside, it is all a mess. Like there used to be like nice tidy racks of spices and flowers drying from the ceiling, and little vials all neatly labeled, and there was a large cauldron for cooking and mixing and washing. Everything has been disrupted and knocked down, and there's broken glass everywhere, or the window's been left open. But Eamon, the thing that strikes you is very strange. You are fairly halfway up Federal Hill, and yet the room smells as if the sea has washed through it. And you look with your practiced sailor's eye, and you can see the telltale signs of water damage.
What's happened in this place? It's a strange house.
The doctor's just like, I don't pretend to have any idea how these people live. And he puts Phoebe in her bed and says her fever is abated somewhat. Someone should sit with her, perhaps, and make sure she drinks water. And if it persists, send along to my boy, and I'll send him up, or a barber's mate, to bleed her.
All right. Was that just to ask Sarah real quick, the move you suggested, was that the
Yeah, I know your kin. Like I don't know, up
Yeah.
to you, but it is there.
Yeah, no, it's not a terrible idea, but I don't know if I don't know this woman all that well, so I leave the place confused with more questions than anything else.
So you're gonna leave
That
her
was
alone?
Actually, no, I sit down with her for a second.
Okay.
Miss, how you holding up there?
So she's asleep for a long spell, but when she wakes up, she seems slightly more lucid and says, have I been outside again?
Why, yeah. You were all day down by the docks. I was on my boat.
It's the marriage. I did a dreadful thing, sir.
A dreadful thing? What dreadful thing have you done?
I tried to rivet together the land and the sea, but I did not know that I would be the pin, and they tear at me. They tear at me so dreadfully.
You sound almost like one of them, I don't know if this is the right word, I've heard it bandied about, but the shaman types, or a priestess of some kind of pagan faith.
My people have always had the sight and the gift. I thought myself as strong as them, but I don't know. I remember someone from a Pembleton ship. Was that you?
Aye, I'm the first mate of that Pembleton ship there.
Then I fear you are caught up in the marriage of the land and sea as well.
Well, here's hoping it's a finer marriage than my first.
I don't know all it portends.
All right. Speaking of your people, do you Do you have anyone who can watch over you? Friends, kin?
None. The Pembletons, having received what they had paid for, care nothing for me. And my own folk never thought it wise for me to move back to Kingsport.
Mhm.
I don't know if they'd take me back.
Oh, you might want to try. It sounds like you're gonna need someone to look after you now.
I fear I will not be well again until whatever fate I have released, whatever I have riveted together, finally comes undone.
Well, here's hoping you'll be fine, better before then. You know, you try and stay healthy now, all right? I need to get back to my boat. We're not shipping off for a few days. If you need anything before then, send word.
Come and see me again, and I'll speak your fortune, sailor.
Oh, I'll do a stove only if it's a good fortune.
All fortunes are good from the right perspective.
Well, I'm a bit thick-headed, so here's hoping. So before I leave, I definitely want to do a Sense What's Beyond, because this place is spooky.
Go right ahead.
All right. So
You do have
roll.
Beyond as your thing, right?
Oh, yes. So that would be a +2. Okay. That is a 7.
Cool. You receive fragments and mysteries, eh? All right. You see, like, just flashes of Phoebe crouched beneath Kingsport Head with candles lit around her, a great wave overtaking a ship. You see her speaking and prophesizing, but she's not the one speaking. And for some reason, you felt almost like there was a shackle around your leg as you perceived all these things. Have fun with
I head back to the boat.
that. Cool. Why don't we just ask Angus what he's doing this fine morning? That's the easiest way.
Yeah, how far out are we from our intended departure at this point?
Days, but not like a few days, within the week probably.
Yeah. I think Angus is an early riser by inclination for sure. And I'm trying to figure out where he's been staying is one thing I have been reflecting on. I think he has, a bit of a like reasonably expansive kinship network, but he is probably leery of spending too much time with them because he is again a little bit in hiding to some extent.
You could
So
be
he may have
sleeping
been
rough.
Yeah, so he may have been doing that because he's obviously someone who's comfortable
Sure.
in the wilderness. So yeah, he's out in the woods somewhere. He's probably been spending his mornings like I said, he's been working on honing his existing skills and making sure that he has the equipment he likes to take with him for hunting, while also trying to secure some new skills. He's probably been doing a lot of tree climbing, actually, on the principle that it's probably roughly similar to masts.
Then I think you're probably up a tree, jumping to another tree, and you hear Cory shouting from below, "Ahoy the tree!"
I think he swears loudly, because like probably the shout startles him into like not like missing his grip on the tree he's in, but not getting it quite as securely as he would have liked. And he will drop down to the ground and be like, "Good morning. How did you find me?"
It wasn't easy. You're quite skilled at this.
Well, more so than I am at harpoon throwing, perhaps.
That may perhaps we can remedy.
And he raises his eyebrows at that. He's interested for sure, and he's like, I mean, it didn't seem that there was any pressing need for me, but I certainly wouldn't object to learning the skill a bit better.
I see talent in you, and there's always the chance that something will befall where one of us will have to fill an extra duty. Whaling is quite dangerous.
Well, I'm certain that's true. No, if you have lessons to teach, I would gladly learn them.
I've drawn up my catch not far from here under the head, and I will quite gladly take you out onto the bay and see what we can find a use for your harpoon.
Is this a trip the captain has sanctioned, or are we
Well,
being keeners?
The blue pennant has not yet waved, so I am not officially on duty as a member of the crew. I see no reason why we cannot sail my own boat.
Independent work. I like it.
You'll find that the marshes, at least the female marshes, are by nature an independent lot.
It's a very fine way to be, Miss Marsh.
So, with little further ado, you go down to her catch, which is a little two-masted boat, like maybe 20 or 30 feet long at most, which would make it as long as a whaleboat. And with a brisk breeze, you sail out, and she reaches a spot and lowers the sails and says, "This is a place where sharks tend to congregate." A harpooning of a shark is not the same thing as the harpooning of a whale, but it's good practice.
How do they compare in size? You'll have to forgive me. I rarely have an opportunity to see sea beasts, and he sort of gestures vaguely, whole.
Well, your parmacetti, as the old salts will call them, will run you between 50 to 60 feet long, but great monster bulls have been known to hit 85 feet.
Oh, goodness.
Fully a third of that is their head, which is immensely strong and tough, and their jaw runs that whole length. Filled with teeth. It's a toothy whale. It's not like the right whale.
Well, they sound quite extraordinary.
You can't make a corset out of a sperm whale, I'm afraid, but they're far more valuable.
I am sure that Ms. Belvedere will be devastated to realize this.
Well, Parmacetti can churn the water with its flukes. There's been many a whaleboat that has been smashed all to flinders by a sweep of its great tail, and it will try to do that once the iron's in it.
And of course, I would expect any creature to do the same. It's, in desperate times, you fight for what advantage you can find.
Mm-hmm. It is perhaps a somewhat dreadful thing, that we do this all merely for the profit of our Yankee industry. But on the other hand, the thing about the sea is that it is all devouring. All creatures within it must be eaten to eat.
And one could say the same of the land from a certain perspective.
True. Yet the sea...
In any case,
yes.
On that point, if we do spear one of these sharks, I hope that you have a purpose it can be put to. I'm not in the business of killing things and letting it all go to rot.
Well, I had thought that we would kill a few bull sharks, and the advantage of killing one is that it would bring its brothers. But if you are more to purpose, then perhaps I can do something. It's not... And this is this weird moment where the boat is just bobbing and she's just staring straight at you. It's not exactly an ordinary thing. But Mr. Mallinson, I feel that you are not ordinary either.
I mean, I have some skills, I suppose. But I don't view myself as all that different from my kin or from anyone else.
A moment, please, then. And she goes up to the bow of the boat and leans far out over the water. And she stays there a long time, not moving, except maybe sometimes you think you hear her whispering something. And so finally, she draws a short knife, slashes her palm, and thrusts it into the water. And then climbs back, says, I advise you go to the front and brace against the thwart with your harpoon ready. For it will be very quickly. It will be very quick now.
Yeah, when he's not in his element, he is inclined to listen to the people who know what they're doing.
So almost as soon as you are up at the front, you see a dorsal fin cutting the water, coming straight at the boat, coming so fast that the shark begins to raise out of the water. And this is not some little 8-foot bull shark that eats the trash in the harbor. This is a 30 or 40 foot long great white out of the heart of the Atlantic.
All right. Well, I mean, I suppose I am going to try and fire at the dang thing.
I feel that's probably acting under pressure, unless you want to. All right. Well, tell me your intent. Is it to merely do this thing and survive it, or is it to definitely take hold of it?
I think if Angus is going to do this, he wants to do it right. Among other things, I don't think he's interested in, again, like in severely wounding this shark and having it just like straggle away and like dying off in the ocean somewhere.
Then that feels like act with force to me.
An 8 + 1, so that is 9.
Oh, quite good. Very good. So you may choose 2 of the options.
All right, these are interesting.
Yes, they are, aren't they?
I don't care about impressing, dismaying, or frightening a shark, particularly. And as I said, his goal is, if he's going to do this, to get it finished. So, I suppose it would be to inflict terrible harm, and I mean, I don't love not choosing either of these other ones, but I guess I think inflicting terrible harm and suffering little harm makes sense. He doesn't know what he's doing at the end of the day, so taking definite hold of the situation might be a little much.
Okay.
But he's able to safely do a lot of damage to a large animal. That is a skill he does have some facility with. So,
all right, cool. So the harpoon sail whips out. This time you get it off nice and clean, and strikes the shark fairly amidships, and latches, and the shark starts to pull immediately. But a shark is not quite as strong as a sperm whale, and you already Cory is already backing the sails a little, so the boat doesn't move too far. The shark spins and tries to come up the line at you, at which point Cory throws an iron into it too. But with those two, it's not there for long. But it gets right up to the edge of the gunwale, and Cory is, strangely enough, like right in your ear, and she says, "Blood for blood, give blood to the water, and thank you for the blood you have received."
He blinks a little, but yeah, he'll I'm trying to think of the sort of easiest to access. Yeah, no, there's no way he can get at the point of his harpoon. So he'll pull out. He's probably got like a pocket knife or something, and he will do as he is bid.
So it lands on the shark, which of course puts it into its final frenzy. But finally, it's at rest, and you have a shark which you can tow, and there's things you can sell and keep from it. But she's rocking in the boat and looking at you like, "Very good, Angus. Very good indeed."
Yes, well, you certainly have an unusual way of doing things. I'd appreciate it very much if you could guide me on which parts of this beast can be used for what, and how to there is an actual word for, like systemically, kind of just butchering, taking apart an animal, and I don't know it offhand because I'm tired, but Angus would.
She nods. "I'll do better than that. I will help you sail this boat back to the dock. It's time you learn a little bit about the handling of watercraft as well. And I'll teach you a knot or three that you may not know."
Certainly.
All right.
My thanks for the help.
Because she assumes you know quite a few very useful knots, but some of those are probably like climber's knots, and there are quite a few very tediously specific maritime knots.
Like, no doubt.
Yeah, like I know 6 pretty handy knots. Like 3 of them are maritime in origin. So, okay. So this feels like a time to cut back to the captain and Lilith, because, in mid-morning, Cory comes sailing in with Angus, trailing a shark, trailing other sharks because they're chasing after them.
Just getting smaller and smaller. Lilith, is now a good time to have our little tea party, do you think?
Yeah, I'm down for tea. I feel like that makes sense too, because the last encounter Lilith had with the captain was the captain sort of informing her that she couldn't have her trunk. And so I imagine, especially since the captain knows her family requested this, that's like here, I'll invite you for tea and we'll make nice and then we'll all be fine. And you'll forget that
it's interesting that you think that's my intent here.
Lilith certainly thinks that's your intent.
I think it's probably like after you've, seen Eamon and Phoebe, not Phoebe, unclear to me, off. And he's standing on like the main deck as you come back up.
Captain, what a fine morning. I've been up for several hours already. My pen was restless, and I figure because we'll soon be on the open sea and rising with the sun, I should prepare myself accordingly. I imagine you, as captain of the vessel, have been up quite a while.
I don't sleep much.
It's a wonder you were not here for the episode earlier. Did Eamon tell you about it yet?
I think he has probably not come back at this point. If you sat with her for a bit. So just kind of shake my head.
It was quite a tale. It was all misty, and a woman came out of nowhere, just collapsed, feverish. I thought she was a ghost, to be honest. A little disappointed, perhaps, that she isn't. Would have been a fascinating thing to tell those back at Miskatonic. There is, of course, a different department for that, but...
Or write a book about.
I hadn't quite thought of embedding a ghost story in my novel. While I am no commercial shill, ghost stories do capture the public's imagination. Perhaps I should consider it.
I've read a bit of your things.
Oh. Don't tell me that you find them full of baseless, ungrounded in scientific fact, theoretical presuppositions that require no further thought and should be dismissed summarily from one's mind.
Kind of look back at like the great cabin, I think it's called, the bigger room under the deck. Tea.
Oh, why yes. What do you have on offer?
Tea.
Just tea.
Follow me.
And I think she will. And as she is going, she is kind of railing off quotations from various reviews of her scientific work, like quotes of how people have criticized her. And you're getting like the full spiel of how Lilith Belvedere's scholarship has been scorned without warrant, without necessity, and has just been shunned from the scientific community for no reason whatsoever.
He says absolutely nothing this entire way.
Yeah, the point I think that they arrive,
unclear
just
to
been
you if he's listening. Although he is.
I think she
so
is
we go
lecturing
like,
at the air.
I don't think we would pass through any of like the hallways or anything. If passing that painting with the scribbled out eyes of the person might be interesting. We'll see that eventually, I guess. But yeah, into the cabin. Kat, can you tell me a little bit about what this room looks like? I don't know.
It's one of the largest spaces. The thing about below decks of a ship is very little of it is fixed in place, except some thicker walls, which would be the bulkheads. So a lot of times you can just move walls all around, but the great cabin would be kept in its normal condition. I think they were about 15, 20 feet square, maybe, with lots of little rooms that come off it. Sometimes the mates will actually live there, but definitely the captain and the captain's steward sleep there. There's usually some kind of table. The rear windows of the ship are there, and there'd be a lamp and a binnacle, and the telltales, which would be a compass that's hanging from the ceiling, so that you can always check the ship's heading. And usually the chronometers are set in the beams there too, because we're now far enough along that you have chronometers. Of course, the thing is, it's depending on the ship, it's maybe 6 feet high tops, so probably closer to 5. But most of the time you're sitting in it, so
Yeah. If it's 6 feet, like we'll probably both be okay.
People tend to crouch
yeah.
a lot on ships. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and like if there's anything that would normally be covering those windows, any of the windows in the back, like that's just gone. Like the clearest view of what little we can see of the sea here. I don't know if this is a harbor at all, or
Yeah, it's a fairly sheltered, semicircular harbor, and you would be pulled up to one of the wharves that are busy in this period of Kingsport's dominance as a shipbuilding and commercial center.
gotcha. So it's a lot of docks and other ships and things, but like whatever water there is to see, you can see it out that window. Yeah, and I'll make tea. However, that is done on a ship, I am unclear. But they will. I'll bring you a cup. There's probably a couple chairs at the table, and just sit down and listen to you talk yourself out.
I think she is basically talking as they walk in, sit down. She's going on and on. Have you left any personal touches or put any personal touches on the cabin yet, Clement? Or is this just kind of as we've found it?
He's probably got like a bag that's like under a thing, and then like clothes and stuff just kind of thrown. However, like messier than it would be once we actually set sail, and things will roll off and whatnot. Let me see though. He does have a few books, I think. None of yours, but. Sorry,
I think
there's a party going on upstairs. You can probably hear it. I'm just thinking like personal things that might be interesting for him.
I think she would definitely notice your books.
Yeah, and I think he's got like hanging on the wall or like stuck to it, nailed, is an obsidian mirror, just very black.
I think that immediately attracts her attention as she notices it. And it's kind of one of those things where she's like animatedly giving her talk, and then her eyes just kind of see it, and then slowly her speech just kind of peters out until it's silent. What is that? That mirror. Is it a mirror?
It is.
But it is dark. Surely you can't use it for its intended purpose.
I'd recommend drinking your tea.
There are stories about the properties of obsidian. It's an object of study at Miskatonic.
I've heard them.
And yet you keep one here all the same. Knowing what it might invite.
Does it make you uncomfortable? Does it make you uneasy?
Not in the least. I'm just used to it making everyone else uneasy. You said you read some of my papers, and I'm afraid I assumed that you would criticize them.
I said I've read some of your books.
Well, yes, but my books are...
Well, leafed through them.
You see, my books take inspiration from my research, but only lightly. After all, I have been decried for not having direct experience. It is why I'm here. You didn't find my books off-putting.
Parts, but not, I think, for the reason you'd expect.
She glances at the obsidian mirror again. Huh. I wouldn't have expected, Captain. Do you have experience?
I've lived on the sea for most of my life.
And so you've seen them?
I'm just like deliberately misunderstanding your question. Are you upset? about your things?
Well, I'm afraid half of my garments were in that other trunk, so I've had to make do with half my wardrobe. It means I shall have to do laundry more frequently on the boat. There is a way to do that, isn't there? I assume so. I will have to clean things, although not the silks, because you can't get the silks wet. So I will just have to refrain from wearing the silks too often on our voyage.
Like, sipping the tea. Nothing we have is really ours for long. The sooner you learn that, the easier it will be for you. You're interested
Of course.
in things you perhaps ought not to be. And I think even if you say you have knowledge of them, that is not the same as experience. And I know you said you came here to get that.
I'm a scholar.
But be careful.
They have a saying at Miskatonic University that knowledge which is difficult to obtain, the forbidden knowledge, the eternal knowledge, it requires sacrifice, and it requires
It's like close his eyes and doesn't open them again.
a perilous journey, because after all, the knowledge is waiting to see if you are worthy to bear it. I intend to prove myself worthy, Captain. I know the risks. I'm here all the same.
You can't know until you're out there. The sea hungers, and it is a deep and abiding hunger, and no ship or sail or soul will save you from it.
But you see, I have that hunger. A hunger for the unknown.
That hunger is not for you.
Perhaps it may be.
It is for God.
For God? Surely you mean for the fathomless. The creatures.
I mean for God.
Well, there you and I disagree, Captain. The most eternal hunger of all is for the fathomless. That is why the sea hungers, as you say. It is their hunger. And I intend to find them.
You won't.
You're right.
They'll find you. That's the way that it happens. If you are speaking what I am speaking, because there are many gods in this world, but only one of them came for me.
Then you have been blessed, to use our paltry human parlance.
I thought so.
I envy you. She takes a sip of tea.
If you mean what you said about sacrifice, God demands everything. I would definitely want to say that at some point in this, probably during the tea preparation, you 100% saw the tattoo of like, it's a whale, but like there are also tentacles, and it's just something weird's going on.
I think this would be the moment that the Lilith Belvedere will remember this, scrolls across the screen. And I think you saw, far from the kind of the kind of bumbling scholar who's overexcited about being on a boat, that I think has been much of Lilith's bubbly entrance to the sea vessel. I think you saw a kind of shrewdness as she sort of leveled with you and you leveled with her. And she, I think, has to mull these thoughts over now that the captain is captain may be a kind of believer of his own.
They're both of our bonds fitting together.
This is gonna go well. So we had some weird stuff. Let's have some more weird stuff. But first, a moment of contrast. So Cap, later that day, some people show up on the ship with Josias Pebbleton.
And he's the guy who owns the ship?
Yes.
Cool. I will go and greet him.
Captain Thorne. We have seen fit to find 2 officers that I think will stand ye well on your voyage.
And by officers, he means mates.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Lawrence Dana has sailed a whaling voyage before. And this is my grandnephew, Mr. Elias Pempleton.
Like, his expression changes just a little, like, nepotism.
So Dana looks like Dana, the way he carries himself, you strongly suspect he might have been in the Royal Navy, but he gives you a nod. Captain, sir, I'm looking forward to sailing under you.
If you're good, I look forward to having you.
I shall endeavor to do my duties to the utmost of my abilities, sir.
That's all that I ask.
And Pembleton Jr. is a big, shaggy-headed, raw-boned, maybe 20-year-old kid. Like, pleased to be aboard, Captain. I'm obviously the 3rd mate.
I've already got my first.
And as for bosun, Captain, I believe we have found someone suitable for you.
Just a little bit like he's assigning all my crew now. Okay. But, yes.
Unless you have any objection, we found a Nantucketer, a veteran of many a voyage to the whaling grounds. I shall send him along, and you may decide upon him.
Mr. Pemberton, sorry, correct that in post. Mr. Pemberton, I don't care where in America these people come from. It means nothing to me. I'm English.
Well, to tell the truth, us Pembletons had more than our share of Tories during the late Revolution. How there were Pembletons on the Constitution when it gave you old lot the thrashing during the War of 12. He chuckled kind of dryly to himself.
And I'll tell the new people that he's brought, like where they can stow their things. And when is your 3rd man expected?
Forward him along quite as soon as I step onto the wharf. A word, Captain.
And yeah, wait until the others have gone off. And then, lead them to just the edge of the ship. But like the other edge of the ship, right? So it's more water than dock.
For a voyage such as this, although I'm not exactly what you would call a churchly man, I think there is no harm in seeking the blessings of Providence upon it.
Let me see. I think he knew like what had happened to me.
He knew that something weird had happened to him.
We discussed it like in oblique terms. But yeah, I think just kind of look at him and say, If you mean the god they worship, and kind of tilt my head toward land.
I said Providence, Captain. There are more than their fair share of Unitarians and such in this region, so I choose to leave it to a man's conscience to decide what form the Supreme Being may take in his mind's eye. Even less it would be a matter of conscience for you. I'd invite ye to come to the Temple of Jonah this eve.
And just like he's given me so little information, but I'm still curious. But yeah, just maybe.
Bring such as ye trust if you feel that there are those that you can trust and are willing to come. We're not a strict Book of Common Prayer lot. Our cult, I suppose, is the technical term.
And Clement almost laughs when he says that.
We far predate the Church of England.
There was a time in my life when I was very close to God.
I am aware.
Are you?
Out of all the particulars, no sir. But I've heard tale. Sailors talk, and the sea listens.
Do you have faith, Mr. Pembleton?
The faith of the Pembletons is harder than New England granite, sir. Despite the cruel way that our God has turned his face from us. And yet we persist as we always shall.
And just kind of look out over the railing to the ocean, and you can hear it, right, and smell it, and it's right there. And just breathe that in and not say anything, because I am still not sure where I personally fall on these things anymore. I know where I want to, but I'll see you tonight then.
He nods curtly to you and steps away. Lilith, are you still on board? I guess you just had tea, right?
I did, yeah. I'm definitely still on board. I think
I have this mental picture of you maybe walking around with a guide to ropes and rigging and looking up.
Yeah, just checking and kind of pointing out that one has been done correctly and checking it off in the book.
So a man comes bounding up in a long black frock coat with a broad, flat-brimmed hat. Looks at you. And who art thee? Shipowner's daughter?
Nothing of the sort. I'm a novelist and a scientist. Who are you?
Neither profession has been known to draw much draft.
Is that supposed to be an insult or a compliment?
It is a statement of fact. I'm a plain-spoken man.
Well, I have often had my statements of fact called fiction, so the line can be thin. You'll forgive my contesting the point. And you might be...
Nathaniel Alsip, if it please you. Or if
Nathaniel
it don't.
Alsip. And what are you doing on this boat?
I was bid by Mr. Josiah Pembleton, the owner, to come to it and present myself to the captain.
The captain? I am not captain. I'm afraid you are mistaken.
I've heard strange tale of Pebbleton ships, but no, I had no idea that they would appoint a slip of a girl like you with no sea legs to be master aboard a vessel such as this.
Beg pardon, I've done quite a bit of studying prior to my voyage. I may not have experienced sea legs, but my legs know what to expect.
Hiya, though. He looks around and picks up a little bit of rope that the riggers left on the deck, tosses it to you, and says, "Tie me a bowline."
I think she sees this as a challenge. Do I need to make a roll for
I
this?
think you should actually
Yeah,
act under
yeah,
pressure.
yeah.
It is literally the easiest knot. It's the one they teach to people as their first knot. So I think you
Amazing.
should definitely do this. It's actually you can screw it up.
Yeah, well, especially since balance is the required stat for adding. And Lilith's balance is 0. So we're going to straight roll. It's going to be great.
It'll be fine.
That's a 7.
So, I think on a 7, maybe you're about to tie it wrong, and then you realize no, the rabbit goes around the tree.
I immediately have a vision of that page in the book, and it was just happened to be one of the knots that I had seen recently, and I was like, right, there's an extra half step at the end. And I tie it and then present it to this person.
The bowline is literally the one with the rabbit goes in the hole around the tree and comes back up.
Amazing.
God, that's how I remember how to tie it sometimes. So he looks at you, it's like, you tied it fair.
Thank you.
Once he remembered.
Well, it takes everyone some time to learn new things, but that does not mean that we should stop the quest for knowledge, does it?
Aye, well, you'll be a sailor, young miss, when you can tie that knot in the blackest night on a pitchin' deck in the midst of a gale.
Well, I'm sure I shall have to, being on a ship like this.
Well,
And are you coming on this?
Now?
Are you coming along on this voyage? Have you been appointed to the crew?
That's between me and the captain.
And if it was if it was up to you, what would you say? Would you have his answer be yay or nay?
This voyage bides to be profitable, so I would say yay.
Ah, a capitalist. Charming.
I'm a Nantucker. We invented whaling on these shores.
You can be a Nantucker and a capitalist. They're not mutually exclusive.
Aye, Nantuckers have been making money out of the sea. Do you not know the famous story when who was his name? Ori Coffin looked down upon the waves, saw the whales at play there, and said, There is the green pastures where our children and grandchildren shall go down and reap a harvest of money."
Yes, that is probably all whales are to you. Money. Well, I hope if you come along for this voyage that maybe your mind is turned a different way. Whales are mighty creatures, from what I've heard, and I, for one, am excited to see one up close.
You say that now, young miss, and I hope that when thee sees it, thee remembers what thee hath said. It will perhaps give you cheer. Good day to you, ma'am.
And to you, sir. And she kind of doffs her hat in a somewhat sardonic way.
Now, before we get to what will probably be an interesting meeting between the captain and Nathaniel, I would desperately like to check in on Angus and Eamon, who we have not seen much of late. So
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, last we heard of me, I was learning how to dismantle a shark. I believe.
Perhaps as you're finishing that task, Eamon can wander up. Probably still a little dazed from your early morning encounter with the strange spirit.
Well, I admire your dedication to your newfound profession there, Angus. I hate to inform you that there's no whale. You done killed a shark.
Nothing much Nothing much new about this, Mr. Barnes. Most animals are put together pretty similarly on the inside.
You're not wrong, but shark isn't gonna do us much good. You know, maybe for a bit of soup, for a tough meal.
Well, Ms. Marsh was explaining to me some of the things you can use parts of it for, but really it was about gaining some experience with hunting things on the water.
Ah, good, good. Oh, at least you're taking your new profession seriously. Oh well, don't worry. We're gonna be on this voyage a long time. I'll make sure you'll learn all the essentials. First, we're gonna learn to splice and rope. Won't that be fun?
I'd appreciate it kindly, sir.
Come along,
I
I'll show
do
you
want
how.
to. I do feel he sort of looks back at where they're just finishing up with the shark. I do feel we should finish this before anything spoils. I don't wish to see it go to waste.
No, that's a good thing. And he kind of just like takes a step closer. I'm glad to see you're so responsible-minded. I wanted to have a little talk with you before the voyage. I've heard rumors. Now, don't go thinking old Whistler is a rumor monger. I'm not. But I've learned a long time ago that sometimes having an ear for and picking out what may be the truth and what may be tall tales is important. I don't know anything about your business, and it ain't no business of mine. Whatever happened on the land is what happened on the land. When you're on the boat, one, don't let no one push you around about any rumors about what happened on the land. Last thing we need is
I,
sailors not trusting one another. Two, keep that business to yourself a bit too. Don't need any fights breaking out, you know what I mean?
I assure you, I don't intend to start any.
Good, good. I didn't think you would. You didn't seem the type, but well, when a man has a secret that he wants to hide, bury it down deep, keep a mask up now, won't he?
I suppose so. I'm not sure exactly which rumors you may have heard. I can guess, certainly. Um, uh, but uh, I assure you, I don't feel I was to blame, and I have no intention of starting trouble.
Good, good. As I said, I'm not judging, and whatever did
Very
happen is.
broad-minded of you, I'm sure.
Well, thank you. It's none of my business, but everyone else's safety on this boat, now that is my business, including yours. So as long as we're square, I'll make sure that no one bothers you on the boat about it either.
I would take it as a kindness.
No problem. And once you finish up with that shark, come along and, if you can, grab the good scientist too. She's in need of a lesson on how to be useful on a boat.
Right. Yes. Her and I, equally useless, I'm sure.
I'm not saying you're useless. I'm saying I'm going to teach you things you need to know so you are useful. But yeah,
I will bring
two
her
of
as
you are a
well.
bit useless.
He winces a little at that, but I'll make sure she joins me.
I go stop going off. I think I try to find the captain.
Timeline-wise, does this be after I've talked to what's his face?
Josias, I think so, yeah. Let's just keep this in rough chronological order.
Okay. Yeah, so probably like exactly where I was talking to him.
Yeah, you're probably pacing the quarterdeck like you always do.
I don't think he paces,
Okay.
but he's definitely standing up there with like the energy of someone who ought to be pacing.
So I think Eamon, as you come climbing on board the ship, you see this guy in the black frock coat with the big broad cap, and knuckles his hat to you. He says, you would be one of the mates?
Aye. Call me Whistler. I'm the first mate.
Nathaniel Alsop been asked to see the captain about the bosun's position.
Oh, good, good. How many voyages you been on?
Whaling voyages?
Aye.
5. 4 of them for 3, 1 for only 2.
Oh, good. You were useful.
Oh, it was during the early days of the offshore ground. We struck so many Parmacettes in the first 2 weeks that we were able to make a quick return to Nantucket.
Hope we have that kind of luck.
Not on the offshore grounds, you won't.
Nah.
On Parmacette is a cagey beast. Clever. They know where to run to.
Hmm. Good to know. Excuse me. I need to go talk to the captain.
Surely Nathaniel Alsop will have nothing to do but to stand here by the grate. He stands there by the grate.
Yeah, and if I see you coming up, just like kind of like nod and a yes, you can come up kind of way.
Captain?
Whistler, what is it?
Now, I know you pay me for doing your worrying, so I've been doing it.
It's an interesting turn of phrase.
Thank you. Someone's got to do the worrying on the ship, and you're too busy with the planning. It's been a strange day. Fevered women walking in out of the mists. Half our harpooners come trailing a line of sharks into the harbor for fun. And half the crew has been picked by not you. Is there anything else strange going on with this voyage that I haven't become privy to yet?
I think we'll find that out once we set out.
Oh. I've been on plenty of voyages in my time. I lost count, but none quite as interesting as a start as this one.
I'm not sure that I care for the fact that so many of my crew's been chosen for me, but are you worried about anything in particular?
The crew, they don't worry me too much. Some of them are green, some of them are plenty of experienced. The experienced ones will keep the green ones in shape, make them useful.
Plenty of time to learn.
Oh yeah, aye. And don't you worry. I'll give them plenty of chars, but
no, you do that for me.
Strange tidings. I try not to be too superstitious, but I fail at that. The fevered woman uttering prophecies in the gloom, and all these strange tidings and sharks in the water like this.
What did she say?
She was saying all kinds of crazy stuff about Pembleton boats and how she had married the land and the sea. Was it the land and the sea together? married the land and the sea together, and it was some type of great mistake or sin of some kind, and she's paying the price.
That
Fever talk.
sounds about right. Do you think they...
Heard us?
No, just the idea of it. The sea is water. If it were a contest, not a marriage, the sea would win. Don't you think?
Definitely. The sea is harsh on a good day.
The sea can be treacherous.
Could be treacherous, could be bountiful,
So
beautiful.
can men.
I would call the sea even much more complicated than your average person. You know, that's an old sailor's talk. It's just, I'm looking out at the horizon and I'm seeing strange tidings ahead. Maybe I'm just...
He looks at you and very seriously says, I would like to have you on board, but if you would like not to come, that's always your choice. It has to be our choice to go or stay, or it doesn't mean anything.
No, Captain, I want to be here. I'm a whaler. I belong on a whaling vessel. I like being here. I like being first mate. Just, I try to see it all if I can before anything comes. Try to feel every wave so I know which way to pitch and to move of the ship.
You'll know what to do when the time comes, I think.
I'm hoping. For right now, though, I'm gonna make sure that everything's getting taken care of. I'm gonna take your Angus there and your
How's he
doctor
doing?
scientist. Well, he could spear a shark, so that's something. He's out there butchering it, making sure none of it goes to waste. I don't know what he's going to do with it, but he bagged the shark first try.
I've received an invitation. Something on land, so I'll be off ship this evening.
No problem. I can stay on the ship, make sure everything stays right.
Don't worry too much.
Is that an order, Captain?
If you want it to be.
Hi. I'll stop worrying now. Nothing but smooth sailing ahead. He just kind of goes off on his way. You there, look alive.
Do you guys want to call it early for Dorian?
Yeah, like I said, not like now early necessarily, but
that could actually work. That would allow me to we could do the church service next time. Yeah. And I think Cory will invite you to the church service if you wish to go, Angus.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. This can't possibly go wrong, can it?
What could go wrong?
So Lilith wanted to talk to Eamon, right?
I think so.
Okay.
think she probably seeks you out, Eamon, imagining that you're, walking the decks and making sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing. I think she considers their morning business unfinished. So I think she strides up to you with purpose and says, "You, Whistler, I must know what happened with the girl."
That's fine. Who are you to be talking to me like that?
Talking to you like what? I addressed you.
Yeah, it's a mite aggressive, don't you think? But
Do you have a problem with directness from a woman?
I have problem with anyone being so direct and so forceful right away.
Ah, I see you have a problem with directness in general. Well, that's all right. I'll cure you of that in time. Now,
Will you
the girl.
now?
The girl.
Yes, Phoebe. I stayed with her a while. Poor thing doesn't have any family in the area. No real friends to look after her. She mentioned she had a few folk in Kingsport that she, may be able to reach out to, but apparently there's some bad blood there. I didn't inquire too much, wouldn't be proper. Told her if she needs any extra help or a little something, that we wouldn't be shipping out for a while and she could come by and ask. Just more worried that the fever might get a hold of her again and she goes wandering off into the woods or off onto the beach and into the ocean.
Huh. No family, you say? Nothing tying her here?
No. Apparently she has some kind of history to the Pembletons, but once again, I didn't ask. She was only really lucid for a time. Tired, too.
Eamon, did anything happen while you were in her dwelling? Anything strange?
Now, listen here, Miss Belvedere. It's not right to be asking if a man did anything strange with a woman in her home.
No. And I think she goes red. I don't know what you're implying. I merely meant to
What are
ask.
you implying?
Anything strange, out of the ordinary?
I mean, she had a bit of a strange home. It
Strange
needed
in
looking
what way?
after. A lot of water damage. But
Up on a hill.
exactly. That I thought it strange too. It's up there on the hill.
Did you seem to get any sensory details? Perhaps a smell, an image, something that popped into your mind unbidden?
Well, the smell of the sea was as ripe and fresh there as it was on the deck of this here boat. Thought
And I
it
think she's
strange.
pulled out a book and is starting to take notes.
I just figured there was a wind or a draft. I wasn't paying too much of mind to it. I just wanted to make sure that the girl was going to be okay.
Of course. And, well, you said certainly you have continued worry about her, but did she say anything to you in particular?
She said many strange things.
Strange things, yes. Tell me those.
Oh, I mean, she was talking about she had done something with the Pembletons at some point, or for the Pembletons, and she had married the land and the sea together. Like I said, ravings. She has a fever.
Married the land and the sea together.
It was all very poetic and a bit above my head. It was, she sounded like one of them pagan shamans or people you hear of. It was all very divine and mystical, but I could make, head nor tails of it.
Well, and I think she snaps the book shut. Shaman, you say? Fortune telling and auguring will do, I suppose, lacking a ghost. She didn't
She
seem to
did
have any
offer.
focuses or objects in the house, things she might have used in
I
her
mean, I
craft.
wasn't looking through her things.
No, I wouldn't accuse you of doing such.
I didn't pay too close attention to any of that when I was there. It was mostly just me and the doctor and her. And I left before the doctor did.
Well, I think we should convince the captain to take her with us. What say you?
Do you want to bring a fevered, lonely woman onto a whaling boat? Why?
Mr. Burns, I may not be a sea dog or cat or any other sort of experienced sea animal, but I am formally trained in 3 things: reason, logic, and narrative progression. I have also written novels, and I know that when the plot thickens, a protagonist often wishes for more allies, strange though they may be. So, I think we should convince the captain to take her aboard with us. Call it a preternatural sense, but if she is a marriage of the land and sea, then she could be useful, particularly if we find ourselves caught between them.
You're not like other people, are you, Miss Belvedere?
I consider that a compliment. Thank you.
Didn't mean it as a compliment, didn't mean it as an insult, merely an observation.
I will take it as one, nonetheless.
You do realize you'll have to pay for this woman to be on the boat.
Pay?
Aye, she's not going to be in any shape to work. She's sick.
Well, yes, but I assume perhaps she will get better. Maybe not, but it's a risk.
Miss Belvedere, how much time have you spent out on the high seas?
Very little. Only my initial crossing to the New World.
Oh, okay. So, do you remember what seasickness is?
Why, yes. I remember it
Aye.
afflicted many on our craft.
Did it afflict you?
Occasionally. It depended
Alright.
on how rolling the waves were.
So what we're going to be, there's going to be a lot of the rolling waves. There's a chance that this woman might not get better. She could get worse by being on the boat with us. I'm not saying your idea is bad, but I think the word you need to start learning and practicing is practicality.
In this instance, I think she has nothing to be gained here. You said yourself that you worry for her, left alone on land. She would be supervised, at the very least, and be given a chance to heal and thrive. Is not that the least we could do for her? Remove her from the pain she seems to be suffering at the meeting of land and sea.
Well, it's not up to me, it's up to the captain. So, talk to the captain and see if our boat needs a fortune teller.
Well,
If he says sure, then sure.
Perhaps you could put the case to the captain? I know that the captain values your opinion such, and what with your practicality and all.
This sure feels like a manipulate roll right here.
Yeah. All right, will do.
Roll plus beauty.
Uh-huh. Okay. Straight roll. That's 9. Yes.
Amazing. On a 7 through 9, choose one. If they do it, they get +1 to their next roll, or if they refuse, they are acting under pressure.
Love that.
Yeah, that one's actually kind of cool.
Okay, I think if you choose to say yes, you will get the +1 roll.
All right, fine. I promise you that I will talk to the captain about bringing a fevered fortune teller aboard our boat to go whaling. I keep my promises. I can't say it will be successful, but I will do it because why stop the strangeness here? Now, if you could do me a favor, Angus has been over there fiddling with his dead shark for the better part of an hour when I need him splicing rope. So why don't you go over and give him a hand of butchering that poor beast, so that the way you two can stop your idling about and get back to work.
Ooh, fascinating. Shark anatomy. I've never really seen the inside of a shark. And I
Well, you
think
get to now.
and I think with that she wanders over to Angus.
Do we want to do the speaking with the captain before we go, so that we don't forget? The only reason, because you've got +1 forward right now, and there, for some reason, people never
True.
put that on a sheet.
I,
Or we can hold
I'm
off
fine
on it.
with either.
Yeah.
I have to get this out of my system.
All right.
Oh,
Yep. Same deal. Quarterdeck.
you know what?
Nod.
I bring some of the ship's mail. Like I have like actual paperwork and whatnot for the captain.
As I pointed out in the chat, Phoebe is a healer. There's just the chance that you might be able to sell her as a surgeon.
Oh, I saw that. I knock on the door.
Oh, quarterdeck.
Oh, quarterdeck. Captain, I have your mail.
People are sending me things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Bits and bobs. It's all paperwork.
And
There's
just like
Templeton's what this all signed.
take it and like spread it out like on the deck of the ship, like what's important, what can I just toss overboard? And then, at some point I'll just, start going through things, like reading things, signing things.
So, Captain, remember how I said that today's been a bit of a strange day, all things considered?
I do.
Aye. Oh, it's only getting stranger for old Whistler here. Your scientist would like to add a member to the crew.
Ms. Belvedere, you mean?
Aye, Miss Belvedere.
I keep forgetting she's a scientist. It seems
Oh,
unlikely.
she's many things. She's a scientist. She's a sailor. She's a right pain in the arse
Well,
too.
we'll see about that middle bit.
So, oh, don't you worry. Oh, this old salt will make a sailor of her for all the headaches she's been giving me. So, remember I was telling you that there was that fevered woman going wandering down the docks, talking about prophecies and ghosts and fortune telling?
The marriage of the land and sea, yeah.
Oh, aye, yes, it's the same. The scientist would like her to join the crew as a surgeon slash fortune teller. She feels that she would be valuable and that the good calming nature of the sea will help her to alleviate her affliction.
Cat. Could I read another's thoughts when that person is not in front of me?
So the implication is a charged interaction. On the other hand, she's nearby. I don't know.
I could either do that or sense what's beyond.
Yeah, I'm gonna let that be your call. I think between the tea ceremony and seeing Lilith probably watching you guys intently to try and figure out what's happening, I don't think there would be a problem running that role.
Okay, let's see. What would I prefer?
I mean, I guess it's, are you asking the waves for guidance, or are you?
I guess sense what's beyond. Yeah, I'll like take up some of the papers. Or we're on the quarterdeck, so you got to be like, looking at the tops of our heads cut off by the. But yeah, and just like sit down on the deck with these papers and like not really reading them, but there's the wind and the sea, and just thinking about the marriage of the land and the sea, which, like, to Clement, I don't know, ideally the tide will rise and cover the land, and that's how things end. But this is different. It may be interesting. Yeah. Since what's beyond, I think. That's an 8 on the dice. Plus 2 is 10.
Okay.
What would God like me to do here, Cat?
Cat's not sure. What's more interesting to you? Do you want at all to take Phoebe?
I am very curious. I don't know, what side she's on, if she's on a side, what she wants, what God wants. Clement would be willing to take her on board. He's
So
pretty.
You know those rocks they call chimneys? Like if you drive along the California coast, you see them all the time.
Oh yeah.
You had this vision that you and you had this vision of you and Phoebe standing on this chimney with the waves crashing, slowly rising up towards the stone, the crest of the stone you're standing on. She's clearly dressed as a bride, and you are wearing your old uniform, your RN uniform, the dark blue coat with gold braid and strangely enough, the double epaulets of a captain. And the sense you feel is that if you do this, you are fully binding yourself into the marriage of land and sea.
And do I know what that means?
No. The marriage of land and sea should always be something I think we develop as a group and try and find our way towards it. But it is definitely a super powerful ceremony.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, I guess Clement's concern about, like in this moment, would be like he kind of feels that God might be like testing him or waiting for something, or like he hasn't done enough, and he would be afraid that this would be like siding, like turning his back on like that Leviathan in some way. Yeah, I'll look up at a Whistler and take all these papers up again and stand up and say, I don't think that's a good idea.
Captain, I had a funny feeling you might think that. I'll take the paperwork to the Pembletons and I'll give the news over to Doctor there, the scientist.
Oh, I'm so afraid I'm making the wrong decision.
Well, I mean, I want to get this out quick, but if you, we don't even have to RP it that much. If you really want to stick up for Lilith, you go ahead and roll manipulate. That's if you want to do it. I mean, you said you would do it.
Who? Me
you.
or?
Yeah, you said you would.
Right.
Well, actually, no.
There's a +1.
You said that you would ask her, and you did. So
yeah.
You have lived up to the contract. I take that back.
Are you gonna make her a stowaway? Oh no, Clement might change his mind later after the church ceremony. But
yeah, I feel like this is like a good place to stop, with Eamon walking down off the quarterdeck and you turning back towards the waves in indecision, trying to figure out if you've done what God asked. Angus getting his first taste of maritime disassembly, and Lilith having had several strange encounters. So this seems like a nice place to stop. Thank you so much. You guys are really pitching in on the weird and darkness angle, and I greatly appreciate that. It's fun. You never know exactly what's going to happen when you go back to the same well, and I am enjoying this run immensely. Anyway, thank you guys so much. This has been extremely lovely. I will look forward
Yeah.
to seeing you all next week.
I know that's a great button line.
That was a great cut.
I mean, if you want to do a pickup, I'll see if I can fix it in post.
Sure. I'll just say it again. God demands everything.
There you go.
Oh. What are your cats' names?
This is Willow, my little corgi. She is a grumpy but sometimes sweet little baby. And there's Shadow the Russian Blue running around here somewhere.
I need to test if my love is... No, I can't do that because I'm not in love with God. Oh.
I mean, yet.
I
mean, you can change at any time. I'm not really sure if you can. I don't know what will happen to the playbook if you change it to the divine. I honestly have no idea. We're drifting pretty hard, so yeah, maybe we need to ride this wave down and see how long it works. And I will think about what the ceremony will look like next week. Yeah. Now it gets to be a banger. Yeah.